NXT, kind of a soft episode this week. Wasn't as good as usual. Nowhere near last week, but then again, they need to have a cool off period. They need to reset some things, but it was okay. You know, this wasn't my favorite episode of NXT. In fact, it was probably it was on the lower side of the episode of NXT that I actually liked, because there was a lot of stuff on here that I didn't like. But we're going to talk about those things. We're going to start with the NXT Underground match, Trick Williams versus Eddie Thorp. So Trick Williams was out of his element. He won the match by missing a trick shot by just a little bit. I mean, he missed it. It couldn't even be qualified as being a whiff. He just missed it. And then he did the hammer fists, which barely made contact. And I realized at that point, some things are just better left not done. You know, this wasn't Trick Williams' kind of match. He's not physical enough to make this thing work. So I think it was a big miss. But he's been intense all night. He got in Javon Evans' face earlier. The two of them, Javon Evans he's trying to be like a little brother, you know? Trick, hey, you know, following him around. Hey, Trick, guess what? You were right, man. You were right. I get it now. I understand what you're trying to say now. He's like, what? And so Trick tells Javon Evans, just because they both got dreads, don't mean that they're friends. That you'll never be like me. You'll never be NXT champion like me. And Javon Evans was like, whoa. Wasn't expecting that. Meanwhile, Eddie Thorp he's dreaming of a team up with Ridge Holland, and they neither one of them are fans of sports entertainers. WWE is doing that now too. We don't like sports entertainers around here. We like our pro wrestling. Come on, leave that for AEW. Don't do that here. Especially not in my precious NXT. Don't do that here. Don't do it. Stop it. Stop doing that. Wouldn't matter anyway because Eddie Thorp lost. There was only really one big spot in the match, and that's when Eddie Thorp put Trick Williams through a table. So that was kind of it. I'm man enough to say that as much as I like Trick Williams, this was not good. It wasn't his kind of match. So, and his offense didn't look believable in the role. Like, he barely made any contact. This is the kind of match that you need to have that gentleman's agreement that Devon Eriks was talking about, you know, where as long as nobody loses their teeth or you get a concussion, you need to go ahead and lay it in. But this did not look the best. And then the finish was also very sudden. So the lead up to the finish, Eddie Thorp had Trick Williams in a triangle choke. Trick Williams powered out of it, threw him outside of the ring on top of all the Evolve talent that was hanging out there. As soon as Eddie Thorp gets back in the ring, there was some reversals, and then the attempt at a trick shot that missed by just a little bit, and then all of a sudden there was the hammer fists and a ref stoppage. This was all very bad. Then Trick Williams called out Obafemi, said, "Bring my championship." Obafemi came, he marched out there, and then as they were coming out, the Dark State, they appeared. Now, the Dark State is Deion Lennox, that black dude everybody keeps telling me about, and those two other guys nobody seems to know. And they had cut a promo earlier. Well, they attacked Tony D'Angelo earlier, but they had cut a promo earlier saying that when the Dark State strikes, nobody is safe, and that they are tired of waiting around. They're too talented to be sitting on the bench. The old way of doing things ain't working for them anymore. So basically, they are Nexus, Shield, and Retribution all slammed together at one time. And none of it is really cooking. This is a piece of chicken. You know, this is a turducken that they got going on here. It's like three different birds that they slam together at once. This is a disaster. This is not good. So then they came out at the end of the main event. They menaced the crowd, and Javon Evans jumped in the ring with Obafemi and Trick Williams because he's been warning about these guys. He's trying to get everybody to work together to fight them, and Trick Williams don't want to hear it. He pie-faced Javon Evans. This leads to a gigantic brawl between Obafemi and Trick Williams. For some reason, the Lumberjacks jumped in the ring, and they started fighting each other. The Dark State guys are just watching. They're like, oh, this is great. And then Javon Evans dropped Obafemi with a cutter. He jumped off of a guy's back. And then he stared into the eyes of Trick Williams, and the two of them just stared at each other seemingly an endless amount of time as the show went off the air. So they're building something between Trick Williams and Javon Evans. There's hopefully, and I know I'm going to put this in the universe, and I'm going to regret it later. I hope this is not a triple threat match. I really, really, really hope this is not a triple threat match. Because it's coming across like it's going to be a triple threat match, dog. And I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. But Javon Evans should probably win that match if they do it. As much as I think Trick Williams is the top guy in NXT. I don't think he needs to be the champion right now. I think using Trick to give both Obafemi and Javon Evans the rub is the best option. Again, Trick, there's still some work that needs to be done. You know, he's still your top draft pick, but this is where you need to get in there and get him working with different things. One of the things that I need him to work on is that his style should not be ballet. It needs to get a little bit more physical, you know. And I know he's, you know, the job NXT is where they do a lot of whiffing. There's a lot of whiffing and mistakes being made in NXT. They need to tighten the screws a little bit, you know. And Trick Williams is one of those people that need to tighten the screws some. But them taking out Obafemi like this, at first I was annoyed by it, but then I understood it. You know, they're trying to make this thing a three-way feud with the looming threat of the Dark State guys. Now, the Dark State guys, which, again, I'm not a fan of them, personally. I don't know any of them. I know Deion Lennox, and people keep telling me about Shaquan Sugars. Like, I know who that is. In any event, somebody is saying, like, okay, what is going to be the big reveal here? And I think the big reveal is that generic as shit. It just seems to me like they want to set up an 8-man tag of sorts. And if, you know, Javon Evans is not going to be in a championship match, he's going to lead a team against these guys. But the team is probably going to end up being Obafemi, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and probably Tony D'Angelo, which would be fine. That would be a pretty good team. And that seemed like a TV main event. It doesn't seem like it's going to be something to do at a pay-per-view. But overall, I think the main event was kind of weak. I like Javon Evans, and I like Trick, and I like Oba. I love Oba. I like all the guys involved. I like the post-match angle. I thought it was pretty solid. It completed the story for the night, where the Dark State guys had been appearing, and Javon Evans and Trick Williams had issues earlier. So there's elements of that was pretty good, but for the most part, I was just kind of shrugging. Stephanie Vaquer, she came out to say that wrestling is her first language, English isn't, which everybody thought was cute. They're treating her like a puppy. She said she came to NXT to make history, and now she has these 2 belts that makes her the best of the best. Jordan Grace wanted to challenge her. Jordan Grace was wearing platforms. Like, these were the highest looking boots. Oh my goodness, I don't understand these boots. Anyway, Jordan Grace got attacked by Jada Parker. He got knocked down. Jada Parker then proceeds to tear into Stephanie Vaquer with her promo. I mean, she's gotten so good at this promo stuff. Says that she doesn't wait in line and she's not going to wait until Stand and Deliver. Later in the show, Fallon Henley starts berating Ava for a championship match. Then Stephanie Vaquera actually agreed to the championship match against Fallon Henley. But she agreed to both matches. And then Fallon Henley says, okay, well, fight me second. And then Stephanie Vaquera agreed to that too. And then Ava, for the first time in forever, just kind of let it happen. So Stephanie Vaquera next week is going to wrestle Jada Parker in the beginning of the show and wrestle Fallon Henley in the main event. I guess it makes that first match pretty damn obvious, isn't it? Anyway, Jada Parker cut a really great promo at the end, or near the end of the show, where she says that she's ready and that they ain't playing cards, they ain't shooting dice, they ain't spinning no wheels. They're about to get a new NXT champion. She's gotten really good at promos. She's very aggressive, and she's really hitting the right marks when it comes to her promo work. It's really good. I mean, the growth of Jada Parker she's not just fine. If she was fine and nothing else, I would just say that. But she is legitimately growing as a character. And she's finding her own voice. And she's getting better at talking, you know. But she's good in this role, you know. So, do I expect Stephanie Vaquera to lose any title? No. I don't expect her to lose any match, period, for a while. Having Stephanie defend the title, both titles, I think that's not going to last very long. I think eventually they're going to take one of those belts. Either she's going to lose it, or might lose it to Fallon Henley next week, which they kind of setting up, but I don't expect it. But I don't think she'll hold both belts for long. So there's that. Also, they set up for Jordynne Grace to interfere in the Jada Parker championship match. So Jada Parker's likely going to end up paired up with Jordynne Grace for a while as a way of getting them both ready. Maybe they'll do some kind of triple threat thing. I mean, looking at WrestleMania, bro, it's always on the table. It's always on the table, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it's always on the table, the triple threat, and I don't want that at all. But it seems like that's what the kind of the direction they're going to go in. You know, likely Jordynne Grace is going to cost Jada Parker her championship. And that's going to be either a way to tear Jada Parker out of that feud or add Jordynne Grace into it. And I would prefer the former rather than the latter, if we're being honest. Ricky Saints defeated Ridge Holland painfully mid-match. Very basic, mostly due to Ridge Holland. He barely picked up Ridge Holland for the Rochambeau. Barely. Of course, like I said earlier, Ridge Holland had an issue with Ricky Saints being a sports entertainer, which doesn't make sense at all, because not like Ridge Holland, some grizzled old vet. Anyway, after the match, Ricky Saints is approached by Sean Spears. He's approached by Sean Spears' group, the Culling, who need to be cold. They should be called the Cold. And they should call only Sean Spears. I don't know about the rest of these guys. The Culling defeated the D'Angelo family earlier in the night, which actually gave me one of my better surprises of the evening, as Luca Crucifino really kicked ass on the hot tag. Very rarely do I give people that much credit for something so simple. But for a guy who I thought was booted to Evolve 2 weeks ago, he came in and was really good in a hot tag segment earlier tonight. But this was set up because, again, last week Stax called the play. He wanted to fight the Culling 2 men, 1 woman, 6-person tag match. So he had the match, but before the match, he wanted Tony D'Angelo to watch and, you know, just to stay back because, you know, he had hurt his back and all this stuff. And Tony D'Angelo was frustrated at first, but then he went with it. You're like, okay, sure. You're thinking right. Yeah, it's the underboss. He said he got it. So they're having the match in the ring, and Tony D'Angelo's team is winning. And then all of a sudden, the Dark State guys attacked Tony D'Angelo backstage and hit him with pipes and stuff. This was shown on a giant screen, which distracted the D'Angelo family and allowed the Culling to win. The big guy, Nico, used some kind of torture rack slam move It looked almost like a burning hammer, but I dare not call it a burning hammer. Because I don't want all the Puroresu fans to jump up and down in my comment section or, yell at me in emails and stuff. I don't want to do that. So it was some kind of maneuver. What a maneuver. So that occurred earlier in the night. So now they're feeling themselves. They decide they're going to approach Ricky Saints. And Ricky was cutting a promo about something or other. I don't remember. I didn't write it down either. And then the Culling starts telling him how he's not meeting up to his potential, and the Izzy Dame says that he's short or he doesn't measure up. And then Ricky says one thing about him is he always measures up in all the right places. Got a huge pop in the building. And they wasted that by having him stare down with Shawn Spears. I hate that he has to go through Shawn Spears to get that belt. But go ahead. Is it possible? Can we buy the belt from Shawn Spears and just skip the match? Can we just offer Shawn Spears, let's say, $6? I don't know. Like, can we give him, can we barter this? Can we trade this? Can I trade, all the books on my third shelf for him to just give the belt to Ricky Starks? Can we do something else? Do we got furs to trade or lumber or something? Yeah, somebody got some iron ore, like a gold bar or something. I don't want to watch the match because I don't want to watch Shawn Spears. But it has to happen in order for Ricky Starks to get the belt. Or can we trade something? Does somebody have a plot of land in the middle of Nevada that ain't been bombed by nuclear weapons that we could trade to get that belt from for Ricky Starks? Otherwise, we got to sit through the match. Is that what you want? That ain't what I want. I don't want that for our posterity. But Ricky Saints needs to be the champion. I'm cool with that. Shawn Spears sucks. So let's move on. Hank and Tank, they lost a tag team match to Briggs and Inamura. One of the few times on this show I barely was able to stay awake. They got mocked by the TNT guys and Wesley. Then Carmen Petrovich, she had a match with JC Jane. And I thought this was a heel versus heel contest. And I'm like, why are they having a heel versus heel match? And then I was reminded via video that Carmen Petrovich got her ass kicked by Fatal Influence a month ago. This angle was set up a month ago, and they just now getting back to it. Jeez. JC Jane wins with a rolling forearm. I'm not gonna lie to you. She's been in NXT 5 years. I've never seen her finisher. I don't think I've ever seen JC Jane's finish. It might be a whole new finisher for all I know. The match was okay. JC Jane, as well as Chemical X, which would be Gigi Dolan, and Tatum Paxley, they all have been sent over to TNA. There's plenty of clips and photos of them hanging out in TNA. JC Jane, as far as I know, is the only member of Fatal Influence that's been sent to TNA. And she's teaming up with Tessa Blanchard, of all people. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine what kind of bad habits she's about to pick up? She might come back speaking Spanish, She might come back speaking Spanish and a bunch of other things, a whole lot of other problematic behavior. It seems like they're just using the girls from NXT to bolster the depleted women's division of TNA. And TNA did lose a lot of talent over the last 2 or 3 years. And it's their own fault. They went through and they cut a bunch of talent. Obviously, Jordan Grace left because her contract expired. But, there was quite a few people who left with Scott D'Amore left. And some of them work now in his Maple Leaf Pro shows. So they haven't had a chance to really rebuild yet in TNA, which is why the women's tag team division is so bad. And why the Knockouts title is so weak now, because they haven't had a chance to really rebuild the division. So they just kind of using NXT's girls to bolster that division, which is fine. because NXT doesn't have a lot of time for a lot of these girls anyway. And instead of sending them to Evolve, where, they sent Wendy Chu to Evolve, they sent Stevie Turner to Evolve, but is there a good reason to send Gigi Dolan and Cora Jade to Evolve? Not really. So they're actually doing a service to TNA, despite the fact that they're not sending any superstars. They're not sending like AJ Styles or anything like that. But they're helping fill gaps in TNA's roster, which is really cool because it gives them an opportunity to figure it out later on. Anyway, JC Jane wins because Carmen Petrovich refused to cheat. Ashani Diadonis, who got hit with a chair by JC Jane, he gives Carmen Petrovich the chair and wants her to hit JC Jane with the chair. Carmen Petrovich refused to do so and ended up getting a roaring forearm to the face and pinned for her troubles. It never pays to do the right thing. Later on, the two of them are arguing backstage, Carmen Petrovich and Ashanti Theodonis. It seems like they're about to break them up already. Which, look, I can't tell you whether that's good or bad, man. It just seemed to be what it is at this point. They just got together, though. So, I don't know. It's already on the rocks. This doesn't seem to have any real meaning to it, this match, this Carmen Petrovich versus JC Jane match, because it's not leading anywhere. JC Jane's about to get sent to TNA for a while. And who knows how long she's going to be gone. So, then there's that. I guess they just had to have the match. And the storyline is going to continue with Carmen and Ashanti. So, the first match on the show, Chelsea Green defeats Sol Ruca. Sol Ruca's matches would be so much better if she weren't a spot monkey. Like she is a spot monkey. She's very athletic, super athletic. But she does things, and Chelsea Green is probably not the best wrestler for her to showcase, because Chelsea Green will take the bump, but it's not a dangerous bump. Like, there was a spot in this match where Sol Ruca did and it was on the top rope, a cartwheel on the rope into a DDT. And Chelsea Green just rolled through it and didn't make it look devastating at all. And I was just kind of like, somebody who would have took that like face down or something would have made that look really good. But Chelsea Green kind of rolled through it. It made it look even more gymnastic than it really was. Like, it was already gymnastics as hell. And then she just kind of rolled with it. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. It took all the steam out of that thing. I've seen guys do that cartwheel DDT thing before. In fact, I think it might have been somebody's finisher before, if I remember correctly. I forgot what it was called. But it was somebody's finish. In NXT, too. It was like a couple of years ago. Anyway, Zarya gets into it with Piper Niven and Alba Fire outside the ring. And, of course, Sol Ruca is distracted. This leads to Chelsea Green winning the match with the unpretty her. The funny bit in this match was during the beginning, when people started saying the Pledge of Allegiance to Chelsea Green, and Booker T is standing up. And Booker T is standing up. And even Big Joseph is taken aback. Look, man, these people got so much energy. They're so creative. The NXT audience might be the closest thing to a European audience you're going to end up getting in terms of WWE. All right, so it was a soft episode of NXT. It wasn't the best. It's hard to even say there was something I liked, because everything was just kind of bleh. Nothing really jumped out at me and was like, yo, you need to go and talk about this, or it really jazzed me up. I'm not really feeling the dark state. There's just no reason to. It's 4 generic guys, most of whom can't even talk. Deion Lennox has some bass in his voice. The other guys sound like Junkyard Dog, and the 2 white guys are nondescript as hell. I have no idea. I couldn't pick them out of a lineup. Neither could their parents. I don't. But I do like, I do like Javon, Trick, Oba, Ricky. there's a lot of people in here I like. It's just the kind of stuff that they're doing is not great. But I think this week's MVP was Jada Parker. She did a really good job on her promos, both of her promo segments. She's really believable in her role. I think that they're probably making the title shots too soon. Like, I get they just want to get it out of the way because WrestleMania is coming up. But give it time, man. Like, I think she's being rushed. Like, it's clear they want to go with Jordynne Grace, but they want to slow Jordynne Grace down. But instead, it's going to rush Jada Parker. And I think, well, Jada Parker and Jordynne Grace actually are not that far apart in age. So it's not like, one of them is the future, the other one, got some time. I think they're about a year or so apart. So, they both can be the future. They just can't be the future at the same time, So, somebody's going to have to take the slow route. And I think that Stephanie Vaquer losing the titles at any point in time is probably not smart anyway. She should hold the belts for a while. The women have essentially taken over NXT, so they're kind of the star angle, because outside of the girls, the top angle is this dark state thing, and I don't like that. I don't like that dark state thing. Oba Femi he was in a mini feud with Moose. There's nothing else for him now. We're back to Javon and Trick, which is fine, but then there's the dark state thing is involved with that. I don't like that. I don't like that. But hopefully we'll be wrapping this up soon, and hopefully we can wrap up Ricky Starks getting that North American title. And oh yeah, I forgot about this. Javon Evans punched Lexis King in the face. He punched Lexis King in the face because Lexis King was like, Trick is right. You'll never be like NXT champion like him. You're lucky to be eating solid food. And he's going to give him a Heritage Cup championship match next week. So maybe Javon Evans will win the Heritage Cup and it won't be a triple threat. Maybe. Hey, there's some bright spot there. But then again, Lexis King kind of needs to win. I think he lost the last match he was in. We're overthinking things. All right, y'all. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys later.
No one does it better.